Richard Justice joining us on the program to discuss. What did you think of the penalty handed out by Major League Baseball, Richard?
I sort of agree with you. I thought Jeff Luhnow was going to get a lifetime ban when you factor in the sign stealing plus the behavior in the wake of the assistant GM yelling at the female reporters, which they just handled disgracefully. But everything is connected to every other little thing, and I think the commissioner thought handing down the harshest penalty ever sent a message. You know, after the Apple Watch incident in the Red Sox dugout in 2017, he had told teams, if this happens again, it's going to be really bad.
Who blew the whistle?
Mike Fiers in The Athletic and Ken Rosenthal and Evan Dreilich, they blew the whistle. Without the journalism, this probably doesn't happen. Without one player, you know, during the ALCS, A.J. Hinch stood up and said, hey, come on, if you got something against us, put your name on it. Well, Mike Fiers put his name on it.
Do you think he'll be blackballed, Fiers?
You know, I have heard that. There's been a lot of discussion about among the baseball writers and talking to players, like the guy did reveal secrets, and that's for 125 years been something you didn't do. So we'll see about that. There are going to be people that probably look at him a different way, but I don't think that should. I don't think that should influence how people see what the Astros did in any different light. You know, they cheated, and people will say, Dan, you hear people say, well, you have all this technology now, it's too tempting. Look, this was no gray area. They knew what they were doing.
Walk me through the system and give me the part that is the actual cheating.
The cheating is using electronics to cheat. You know, guys that you and I both knew, like Tony Gwynn and Frank Robinson, they had this intuitive ability to detect sign stealing. What happened when MLB instituted replay, they put monitors near every dugout so teams could, so A.J. Hinch could say, do I need to challenge that call? Well, what Alex Cora and others said, well, look, if we've got the signs being relayed by the catcher right here behind our dugout, why don't we study them and come up with the sequencing? And then, and look, I heard from an AL West team, but they've been whispering about this for years. I don't want to reveal the team, but they may play in Oakland, California. and they heard all the stuff, the banging of the trash cans. I didn't hear about the whistle, but like a one bang for a curveball, two bangs for a changeup, no bang fastball. And believe me, people in the game go, what difference does that make? It makes all the difference in the world, because the pitcher holds the control by the sequencing of the pitch. And if you know the pitch is coming, it is a huge, huge advantage. So they would monitor the signs. They would figure out the signs and then relay it some way by banging in their trash can. Alex Wood of the Dodgers pitched a great Game 4 in the 2017 World Series. Said they first became alerted because the Astros were changing signs in Games 1 and 2 at Dodger Stadium. And it was like, oh, they think we're doing it. That means they must be doing it. And so in that game, Game 4, Alex Wood and the catcher changed the signs every 12 pitches. The Nationals came into the World Series games in Houston, and if you saw, there were times the pitcher took his hat off and looked inside. They had a code for it. Also, I think maybe you noticed, maybe you didn't notice, I don't believe Fox Sports during the World Series showed catchers dropping signs, and I think that's a first.
Wow.
There obviously was some suspicion that things were going on, and the monitors, they had to put MLB had to put hall monitors by the people with the screens, and told them in Houston, be on the alert for signs, for whistles, for calling a player by a last name, first name, trash cans, all of that stuff.
Would you vacate the title?
I don't think you can do that. You know, the one thing they did.
You can do it.
Well, yeah, you can do it. But look, you don't have to do it. The title in so many ways has been vacated. And Dan, look, I live in Houston. 56 years, this was the city that watched other teams celebrate. And in the wake of Hurricane Harvey and how the city rallied around the team and the team rallied around the city and how the joy that team played with, it was like you would see people and players looking at the World Series trophy like, keep an eye on that because they're going to take that away and give it to Boston because that's what has always happened in Houston. And now you can say, okay, we cleaned house in the front office. We're going to start over here. We're going to have a new day. But what about the clubhouse? How do you write a story about the Astros now without mentioning it? Because everything you've accomplished comes back to that, whether fair or not, whether whether players used it or players didn't use it. And the report says most of the players of the 2017 team did use it. I mean, I think it might have said virtually all the players. So in so many ways, the title has been vacated.
What's worse, what Pete Rose did or what the Astros did?
It's pretty much the same in that, and I think that's why the commissioner came out hard, because when you went to watch the Reds play when Pete was managing, did he have money bet on that game? Did he not have money bet on that game? Did it impact the way he managed the bullpen in that game? You don't know that, but the suspicion means maybe the game isn't on the up and up. And when you go to a game, I think this is what Rob Manfred was focused on, is like you want to make sure both teams are playing by the same rules.
We're talking to Richard Justice, MLB.com national writer. What do the Red Sox do? What does baseball do to the Red Sox?
They're going to kill them. I mean, it's not going to be any different. Rob Manfred said that this was the most thorough investigation, the investigation of the Astros, the most thorough baseball had ever done. I think 68 witnesses and 80,000 emails, something like that. The Red Sox are going to get the same treatment. And I think you used the word mastermind in terms of Alex Cora. He's going to get hammered.
But then what do the Red Sox do? Will the Red Sox base their punishment off what the Astros did with their man? Is Alex Cora going to get fired?
I would think so, but that's going to be an ownership call for the Red Sox. But there is that peer pressure now. Look, are you going to you're going to let your guy walk when the guys that were the ground zero of this scandal, they threw the guys out in the street. There certainly is going to be that, and I think the first paragraph of Peter Abraham's story in the Boston Globe today is something like the Red Sox are going to be under increasing pressure to fire Alex Cora. That's not beating around the bush there.
But also you have Carlos Beltran, who as a player was involved in this with the Astros. Now he's the manager of the Mets. So can you punish him now as a manager, whereas it feels like the players aren't being punished because that union is so powerful and baseball may not want to take them on? Or am I reading too much into this?
I think the decision early on was we're going to give the players immunity. We want to know the story. Tell us what happened here. And I think in 17 when Rob Manfred, and I believe he said this in meetings with general managers and managers and sent a memo to all clubs, to the ownership on down, like the people in charge are going to be held accountable. If you start saying, okay, I'm going to do this player and do this player, well, first of all, you're probably going to end up suspending every player on the 2017 Astros because it appears that they benefited in some way or other. So that's a fine distinction. Carlos Beltran was a player on that team. Obviously, he was involved. He appears to have been involved. Do you let him skate? I would think, it's just one that he's a rookie manager. He's 2 years removed from playing. This is just one more thing he's going to have to answer to. You thought you were going to have headaches, Carlos. You got more headaches than you thought you were going to have.
How would you feel if you're a Dodger fan or a Yankee fan today?
Well, like Clayton Kershaw said about a month ago when this came out, asked him about it, and he goes, well, it sucks. And I mean, that it sucks, and you can't replay it. But Bill Plaschke wrote today they got to vacate the title and give it to the Dodgers. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, you don't give it to the Dodgers. You can vacate it, but you don't give it to the Dodgers.
But it does stink because when you go back and look at Game 5, replay Game 5 of the World Series, one of the craziest games ever played, there were pitches that were hit in that game. You go, my God, that guy looked like he knew the ball, knew what pitch there was. He was sitting on a breaking ball, which doesn't happen. And so it calls into question everything. And if you're the Dodgers, you go, that's not fair. And, the side story is that Dave Roberts, the manager of the Dodgers, and A.J. Hinch, I don't know if they're best friends, but they're very, very close. And that's going to make for an odd Christmas card exchange, huh?
Oh, man. And it's not over yet because I think.
Well, here's the problem, Dan. It's not going to be over because everything. What if George Springer is hitting .215 on July 1? How? That shows you. What if the Astros are 20-20? You can't do it fairly. You can't play on this. you opened a door that is going to be a long time closing.
But then also, if you start out 20-5, then people will say, the Astros can say, we didn't need to cheat to be great.
They better be 20-5 would be a very good way to turn the page on this thing. You want to turn the page? Win 107 games again and win the World Series, and then people will say, "Oh, you come up with something new?"
Yeah. How are you cheating now? Hey, Richard, great to talk to you. We appreciate your time as always.
Thank you, Dan.
That's Richard Justice, MLB.com national writer.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune into Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV. Stream for free on BR Live or download the Dan Patrick Show app.